forgiving lands. Across the impossible expanse, a mirage calls, a distant oasis. We chase what most consider myth. Pursue an obsession. That's what pushes us to greatness. The oasis. It's real. The 400i by Origin Jumpworks.
So you'll be able to learn more about the ship in one of the later panels that we have with Ben, Paul, and John. I think the team did a great job on this. I think this is one of my favorite skins. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a new skin, just something that felt a lot more, suitable for Pyro. But you can see how it feels suitably worn and weathered, to fit into these climates. And what we're seeing here is first boots on the ground, on Pyro. I think it looks great, especially in contrast to what we're seeing here is like actual AI on the terrain, walking about, going about their business. And is that an AA turret there?
It is. And radio comms towers and all these other elements that we want to make sure that are interactive for the player and allows them to go and explore or use to their advantage. We want them to be able to interact with these different items.
Here you can see various outpost modules, to the right there, we've got the garage unit. You can see the infrastructure on the roof. But this large, beautiful, archway here kind of signifies, the main entrance, the primary entrance to the main social module. I think the airlocks look great, fits in with the art style beautifully.
The team did a great job on this.
And then we've seen the concept art previously in the day, and then, here you can see it translated in-game, and I think it absolutely looks fantastic. The radial forms, is quite special to this art style, and you can see how that complements these archways that lead into other areas of the outpost.
So with the AI, we want to make sure that it's living, it's breathing. If you look back a little bit, there was a chef actually cooking. There's security guards here to make sure that they're actually protecting their investments, protecting their home from strangers. And then, but you have good rep with them, and so they allow you to kind of enter into certain areas that the other players wouldn't be able to enter into.
We also got a quick shot at the loadout that James is playing. So it's a female loadout, but it's also showing the backpack, which is new. Also some of the new hair as well, which is rendering much nicer.
So here the player will make their way out to the trading post, go see the dealer, acquire the artifacts.
And for the trading post, we wanted to get all of the junk on the outside as well, so the player can see it as they're approaching. We wanted, as many tops as we could, and you can see it's using the new soft deck shader. So these are reacting to the planetary wind, the same force that the tall grass and the moss on the ground is reacting to as well.
The other thing with the trading post is, like Ian spoke about before, the inventory and what they'll be able to actually sell here will vary depending on where they're at in the solar system. Are they close to a jump point where they might be coming down and using this as a chop shop, or are they in a very rural area that's, they care more about the frontier lifestyle and being able to survive versus money.
We passed the kitchen as well on the way back there. That's the local diner for this outpost. Tough crowd. Also, so in the inside as well, we wanted this, kaleidoscope of colors and shapes. It's just literally the dealers displaying all the wares, everything they'll have outside in the open here.
Well, welcome. Take a look. I'm sure I have what you want, and if not, I'll have something just as good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very good choice. Very good.
So after 5 million credits of disposable income, we get our first look at the Hadesian artifact, which is obviously going to be what is sort of a super rare thing that you'll hopefully be able to start finding in the galaxy. which is sort of, if you're familiar with the lore of Hades, was an old civilization that destroyed itself. So somehow this trader has gotten their hands on this artifact.
So here we're showing one way of actually playing through this area. It really depends on your standings within the gang and how they want to deal with you. And then what's the dealer going to do? What's the dealer going to charge you? And from there, we have different ways of actually showing this. And we can look at option 2 now. So here we're going to run it back a little bit and show off a different way of entering into the trading post. This is a little bit more straightforward versus in demo 1 we took a side route through the social area.
So yeah, this is just some additional warehouse space that the trading post would have, and you can see it will lead directly onto this courtyard. And for the keen-eyed people, you'd see that the barbecue's still not being eaten yet.
The grill master would be fired.
Yeah. Still full of wieners.
So with this area, again, we just want to make sure that it's filled out with items, filled out with different things that you can interact with and possibly buy. It's like Dave said in the beginning, we want the stores to feel different here, but it's still making it feel believable.
Quick reference to some additional traversal areas there on the right when we came in.
Well, welcome. Take a look. I'm sure I have what you want, and if not, I'll have something just as good.
Yeah. The guys had a lot of fun dressing these areas. There's a lot of storytelling going into it.
So here we decide not to pay the price. And we don't mind losing reputation with the faction, and decide that we're going to take the artifacts through betrayal.
Just take it. Straight into the backpack.
So here we've got different routes for the players to enjoy and to use to flank and also navigate around. So each area will have different secondary and tertiary routes of navigation. James was really just trying to scare him there versus actually kill him.
That was intentional. Good shot, James.
You could also, if you notice real quick, there was the civilians are actually cowering as opposed to fighting, which is you'll see another coming up. But it's super cool.
So again, here the player will have the choice, do they actually want to interact with the civilians, or, does their conscience get better of them?
I think James made the right choice there.
He was nice, yeah.
One of the things when we was playtesting this a lot is when you see the enemy AI kind of fanning out across the terrain like that, it's fantastic to see. It feels really great. Just seeing the base start to wake up to you and as you're trying to exfiltrate. Also, I know it's under combat stress, but that yellow grass just looks fantastic. That's how I play.
So here, James just wants to get out real quick. We slightly hinted to in the first walkthrough, this is where the AA turrets will come alive, and basically, if you're not fast enough, as James isn't, with your countermeasures, then they'll take you down. So what we saw there was the player went in, and based off their actions, the faction changed against them, and then basically became very aggressive. So in this last playthrough, what we'll show you is if the faction is already against you from the very beginning, and what are different ways that you can go about it. So here we are in our last walkthrough. Since you're all by yourself, we wanted to show the player take a stealthy routes versus if you were with friends, you could go in guns blazing. But this allows the player to come in, access the outpost from a different side than what we've shown. It also allows them to clock all the AI and see how they want to approach the problem and see what other secondary or tertiary routes would be open to them, either via the ladder or maybe a possible door.
Good night. That was a great shot. Also, one thing we did as well, as Todd said, we changed the time of day. The wind is slightly stronger, so you'll see the gorgeous yellow grass blowing just a little bit more intense than before. Also, what we're seeing here is like something to imply at the frontier living. Maybe the growing crops or vegetables out here, but it also gives a kind of like a soft cover approach to the perimeter of the base. Nice.
Also, with it being a different time of day, this allows us to show off the AI having their 24-hour schedules so that they can be in different areas when you approach it. So if you approach it at night or you approach it during the morning, they'll be doing different things, whatever is valid for their schedule.
That door's locked, so there's no going through that way. But what James does actually see here as he's scouting out the next AI is, just checking the roofline. But as I said previously, we wanted as many kind of like views in to the base as possible. Just so the player can continue to keep context of what's inside.
But also when you're inside, it allows the player to have context of where they're at within the actual outpost. And that was a great shot.
The AI fell beautifully on the already called out beautiful yellow grass and moss. Also, as James is looking back, what he's doing is actually making a mental map of possible routes, possible advanced traversal routes on top of the outpost. And we saw the dealer there in the bedroom, just end of the day.
So with each outpost, there'll be different routes that will be open to the player or closed to the player. So some of them might have ladders on the outside, some of them might not. Some of them might have basically ways to get in through the floorboards, other ones won't. But this is just one version of, many possibilities. So here, the player will take a secondary route of navigation all the way up to the roof, and then from here, this allows them to be able to check out any of the AI, also be able to look at any of the interactables in the future. If you got a good reputation, maybe you need to go and fix different items on the roof, or if you are there for nefarious means, then maybe you want to take out the power, and which will then kill the AA turrets, or will turn off the lights in the outpost. So it allows the player to interact with different items and then basically create a nice little sandbox for them to play in. So here you can see one of those interactables as well as the AI.
And just behind these interactables, like we're seeing these kind of archways. Like right now, these are just kind of empty, and to just illustrate like a guard point. In the future, these could be maybe customizable, or they could contain like an AA turret, like we saw on demo 1, or it could contain like cargo storage. Basically, we tried to design something that was as flexible as possible.
So here we're showing off the looting system as well as the inventory system. So this will be shipping in 315. This allows bodies to be able to be interacted with and take off the items associated with it. Also, with this change, you will no longer have global inventory, so you can't be pulling off weapons that you didn't take with you to this location. Everything will be regarding what you carry is what you have, and so it really makes the players think about how they want to approach the problem, and then also encourages them to look around and see if the designers have placed different things that they can interact with or use to help get past a certain route or a certain way that they maybe didn't bring with them.
And we'll also be including the, I believe in 315, the Knickknacks app for your Mobiglass. So now that you aren't carrying everything on your body and it's not sort of universal inventory, you'll be able to consult this app to see kind of where stuff is being stored and keep it better organized and stuff like that.
So here, this allows the player to have a quick little puzzle, but just gives them a little bit more interaction, and then allows them to go on to what I would consider a tertiary route, versus climbing up the ladder and possibly having to deal with the AI or them being spotted by them. Also, I think the team did a great job on the planet as well as the outpost. These are really fun to play and sneak around in, and allows for many possible ways of attacking the same problem.
What we're seeing here is like James is actually getting up onto through one of these like rooftop storage modules, and it's given like the highest point in the base. So from here, you can actually make probably the most informed decisions on how to approach the next problem. We're seeing this guard routine here, and then ultimately throwing an item to distract the guard.
Allows them to go and access new areas. It's a behavior that we're still working out, but at least we're seeing like the first iterations and be able to continue to optimize it as well as make sure that the behavior is working properly.
So we just saw that for the first time. It's like the first rooftop airlock hatch. So previously, route in and out, if the outside wasn't pressurized, like we wouldn't have this option. But now through that rooftop airlock, you can cycle and then infiltrate through the roof. And also what we're seeing here is potentially scouting out an advanced traversal up into the rafters, getting on top of some infrastructure and getting like this overview as we go into the garage module.
So here, this is placeholder, but it gives you an idea of, we want to have different interactables, different loot boxes laid out around the location. So if the players, explore, they'll be rewarded. You know, we want to encourage them looking in every nook and cranny and enjoying, you know, what the outpost has for them.
And one of the things that's interesting is these garages won't be vehicle spawn points, so it's not like a big kind of like pad in the middle, but it's more like, you know, if you want to have your vehicle there, you got to drive it in and park it. So here you can see a variety of vehicles just laid out how the player would have just parked them. Just gives a much more believable and realistic design.
So again, we're just encouraging different navigation, different routes for the player to go and see. Over to the left, back there, there was a possible way of going into the floorboards or going underneath the outpost. Again, those will be opened up or closed off based off of, you know, just how we want to build the outpost. Not every one will be built the same. Our philosophy for these are to make sure that each one of them feels unique, and this is just one way of us customizing it and making each one feel different. And so the player won't always be used to the same route. So here, again, we're using the inventory system. We allow the players to go in and if you take out a certain AI, they might have different tools or different notes or different items that you'll need in order to solve your mission.
Interestingly, when we was designing these spaces, we knew we wanted these internal airlocks. But we knew we needed some sort of like view, like porthole on them, just so before you commit through, before you cycle, you know, you can just double check to see if there's any bad guys on the other side.
So we got some ragdoll bugs. I guess it wouldn't be a Citizencon without any sort of issues or bugs.
So here, like previously the players being, you know, on the roof, they've come down through the main section of the outpost. But here, what the players doing is they're going to the underfloor section. So these aren't vents, but they're more like subfloors. So they're meant to feel very dark, very minimal, but you're actually seeing the foundations of these outposts. So inside here, it's the player will need to kind of work out how to navigate through them. It's very much like a torch-based experience, you know. And then within here, what the player can actually do is work out roughly where they are in relation to the to what's upstairs. And what you're seeing here, like this light bleeding down through, you know, you can kind of make informed decisions, or okay, that's where that AI was, or right now the player is just underneath that main social space. So if you think back, like that was that guard in the beginning, just next to the kitchen counter. But you know, we've intentionally made these spaces not necessarily like very easy to navigate, because you know there wouldn't be a lot of light down here. You know, the player would have to, you know, follow, for example, like James is following the blue wire here, you know, making a decision to like, hey, if I follow that blue wire, I'm probably going to get to something interesting, or a point where I can actually, you know, exit this subfloor space and get back up above.
And what I like about them is basically just the claustrophobic feel of it. And then obviously the addition of possible secondary or more advanced navigation, so either going into prone or just going full crouch.
So here we come out in the bathroom space that's on the other side of the garage, so we're on the opposite side of the outpost from where we just were.
It's a good ragdoll.
Now the body drag in the shower.
So here, this is just a different wrapper on a loot box. In this case, it's a hamper. And so the player will be able to really change outfits and adjust the way that they look so that they can walk around the outpost and not be noticed. There will be kind of a certain time limit associated with it. We still need to work out the details on how all that will work, but the goal is to give them a little bit of leeway, and so if you look the part, maybe you're not scrutinized as much, and the AI won't notice you as quickly.
So here we can see back into the social space, but this time on the other side. And then this door will lead directly into the habitation room that we saw previously on the outside.
Speaking of fun ragdoll physics.
That was a great one.
So here, the player decided to take the dealer out instead of actually figuring out how they could open up the safe. So they're going to have to look around the room. They're going to have to interact with the body and possibly see, is there a way for them to actually open it? In other cases, maybe the safe will be hackable in the future, and in some cases it won't be, and then you'll need to figure out a different way of actually opening it.
So here we spot a little clue, a little note, and you'll notice what's fun is like the name on here. If you look back and see some of the AI we've been taken out, you may notice some names. So here's the clue for the player. But one of the coolest things for me here is the player is holding an item with the clue, and while holding the item, they can seamlessly interact with another item to solve a puzzle. That's awesome.
And then here we got a little bug. The player was able to acquire the artifact, and then will be able to do whatever they want with it, either sell it or be able to use it somehow in a future mission.
One of the things that was really exciting about watching this kind of back to back is finally getting to see that freedom of choice. And it's really, really, I mean, again, our locations are always spectacular and beautiful, but now having that sort of striking that balance between, this sort of well thought out social space and construction of these locations, but also an equally effective stealth and combat thing. It's super cool to see.